Oh, shoot. I had a bunch of weight in there. I didn't figure it would flip over. All right, well, it's doing a wheelie now. Time to make it an RX8 because the FDs are weak and not strong enough, as you can see. What is up, Rad Potential YouTube? I'm Mr. Rad and welcome to today's video. We're starting on the FD RX7 that I got a while back, and we need to go get it out of the field and bring it into the shop so that we can chop it in half and make a complete FD with a cheap RX8. We're going to combine all the RX8 stuff because it's cheap with the FD stuff. It's going to look like an FD on the outside and RX8 on the inside. It's going to be the best, most superior RX7 chassis that we can build. And I'm excited to take you guys on this journey, so let's get right to it. Alright guys, we got to get this thing off the wagon because we're starting on the FD project. So fortunately it's like the day after Oregon Trail Rally, so I've got Ben here. If you didn't check out the Oregon Trail Rally video, go check it out. These guys came down from Maine with the STI to race Oregon Trail. It was sick, but the rotary project still got to keep going on. So you all saw this probably last year, maybe. Hope you didn't, I don't know, because that video is kind of the announcement of it, and then now it's been forever since we've started. But this is my 1993 FD RX7. It is a R1. It has 50,000 miles on it. It was totaled in an accident in the front right here. And in the last video, we pulled the frame straight-ish, and I'm going to be putting an RX8 drivetrain in this. So this is going to get the hybrid Renesis engine with the RX8 6-speed, with an RX8 dash, the RX8 suspension, the whole deal. It's going to be a great whole project. I'm super stoked. So we have to get it off the trailer first. We're going to put it on the lift it up, sit it down on something, and then hopefully get it to this vicinity right here, which is like the long-term project vicinity, such that I can cut the frame rails off and we can put the subframes in it. Sound like a plan, Ben?
Oh yeah.
Do you think this is a good idea?
Yeah, send it.
All right. It's a good idea. I'm sorry to all the FD people. It's already smashed, so we're cutting it up more. Getting this thing off the lift was super easy. We simply rolled the wagon under the lift, put some floor jacks under it, jacked it up till we could get the arms under this thing, and we're ready to lift this thing off. Boy, do I remember, this is a mess. So here's a little close-up of the damage. It got hit by a minivan right here, which caved this whole section in. So this is all stuff I cut off just to get it on the frame rack so we could get it straight. I've got it good enough that a door is going to fit on it. I haven't tested a door, but measuring it out, it's the same as the other side, so we should be good. And then the base of the windshield, we got it pulled far enough that it should be good as well. So I'll probably just run like an Optic Armor Lexan windshield or something in this car because it's not going to be perfect, and I think FD windshields are kind of hard to get. So we'll just put a normal Lexan one, but it can't be a rally car because of that reason, and it's too small. So we're doing something else with it. Probably, honestly, the Mr. Rad drift car. But this side, the frame horn is completely torched. You can see it's twisted like this, and it's crinkled, and the upper control arm mounts are just not in the right spot, and it's completely messed up. So we'll get this moved over there, and then I got to figure out a way. Honestly, probably might just bring that yellow RX8 in here, and I don't know if I necessarily need the lift stat. Do you think I don't think I need the lift for anything right away. So you and I, let's try to put that yellow parts RX8 on the lift so I can cut it apart.
Yeah.
Because then that'll be nice to have another set of hands here to do that, because we'll need both cars chopped into pieces to make one good car. So a lot of people don't realize chassis of unibody cars like RX7s, Camaros, RX8s, you name it, cars that don't have frames are actually super light and easy to move around. Put this on a furniture dolly, rolled it over here, used my engine hoist to get it high enough, and we're ready to grab the yellow RX8. Fortunately, have this little tractor. It kind of struggles to move a heavy RX8 around, but we were able to get this thing inside and up on the lift. All right, the RX8's on the lift. This is the point in time where it's going to take us 2 hours to do what you're going to see in 5 or 8 seconds, unless something really funny happens. So we already discovered a giant wasp nest, and we're getting ready to basically completely strip this entire car down to a bare chassis, minus like the glass will be in it, but everything else will completely come off. Ideally as fast as humanly possible so that I don't have to have this crappy junk, probably full of mice, crazy car inside my nice clean shop. Sound good? So fortunately Ben's here. His flight doesn't leave till tomorrow. So I'm putting him to work. Goal is take everything off. I know where it all goes, so we don't have to mark anything. And yeah, honestly, these taillights aren't even that bad. But basically everything is, for the most part, junk. There is some, you know, thermostat housing, don't need it. Oil filter thing, don't need it. This is the only Renesis multi-side port cover that I actually own. I don't have a single one of these. They sit like that in there, you know, if you're stock Renesis life. I can just cover up my REW swap. No one would ever be the wiser, right? And then some fuel rails, injectors, just a bunch of crap back here, an extra engine harness. So all this stuff will come out. It's got a spare tire bracket, so if anybody wants a spare tire bracket, I got one. I'm never going to use it, so I'll save it though, because I think I do still have the spare tire bracket bolt. I think. Oh yeah, look at that. Trinkets, guys. Got to have all the cool stuff. So we're blowing this thing apart. So every car has a story. We need a name. So we might be calling the FD Victoria's Secret, because we found this Victoria's Secret bag in the RX8 while we were, you know, ripping everything out. So entire interior removal done, subframe dropped, ready to go. Look at that. All right, let's clean up a little bit of this mess. We're gonna roll this over here, and look at this. It already looks like a car. It's got a front end on it now. We're gonna put the rear end under there so it looks more like a car. Bit off the ground, but that's okay. We got to get under there to do some fabrication, but track width looks to be about right as it goes up. It's gonna camber out, so it should be mint. I was worried that the back seat of the FD right here was gonna be too close to the front of this subframe, which is very close. We'll probably still cut some of this out, but it's looking like I might be able to reuse one of these studs, maybe. Actually, probably not. It's not even really that close. So the studs will have to get cut out. But if you notice, this bolt to that bolt, the height relative to each other in the FD, it's perfectly flat. I didn't really realize that there was a height difference here in the RX8 right away. But if I use the front of this on the FD frame, which it looks like it's going to line up to just pick up a spot on the frame, which will be nice, I can build a spacer for the rear one to make that happen. So this should about bolt right into this frame, plus or minus. Then the next question you've got is like, where does the gas tank go? But I think I have a solution. My fuel cell solution is just that. I'm going to cut all this out. We're going to put a fuel cell in the back. Since this is basically going to be a race car, I don't think it could ever be like a street car. It'll be street legal, but it'll be a race car. So in the front, it's actually really, really close. Notice the spacing here for these two studs almost perfect, and the frame rail width is the same. So if this had a full frame rail, the RX8 subframe would literally bolt into the front of the FD for the most part. So hopefully that puts it, you know, in the right forward and back location. In addition, the distance relative from center to the steering column is the same on an RX8 and an FD. So this hole will work, the little notch will work, and the RX8 steering column should fit perfectly in here. In addition, hopefully we'll figure this out here shortly in this video, I'm going to put the RX8 dash in this. Now I'm not going to use all the HVAC stuff, but this dash will go in, which is going to let me run the RX8 pedals and the RX8 column as well. So it'll be fully wired from scratch, you know, race car spec stuff, but it'll be nice to have an RX8 dash, put an IC7 or something where the RX8 cluster was, RX8 column, like all that stuff's easy to get replacement parts for. So Ben, what do you think? Rotary car madness.
It's not bad.
Not bad, he says. A man of few words. Yeah. This is the bottom of the old yellow 8. Not buzz though. Guess we could pull the fuel tank out of this thing in case we need an extra one. They are plastic, so that's kind of nice. Might as well strip this car completely down because, well, it's going to get the roof cut off of it and the front clip cut off of it, and the windshield's going to come out of it to go in buzz, and then the sunroof parts are going in an R3. So we're going to sunroof convert an R3, guys. You just haven't, it's coming. But yes. Let's cut the front of an RX8 off. Ben's going to handle wherever we draw this line. So my thinking is, I don't really know how much of the FD I'm going to be able to use, right? Or exactly where the center line of the axle is, etc. You know, we'll go look at that in a second. But I know the maximum amount that I can cut off of the RX8. So if, you know, for example, I cut the RX8 and it's too long, I can shorten it. But if what I cut off the RX8 is only so long, I need to leave more material on the FD to meet up with this, right? In order to get the axle effectively where it needs to be. So we started by drawing a line as far back close to the firewall as I could. And then I sent Ben off with the Sawzall and said, good luck, don't hurt yourself. And we got this thing mostly cut up, even saving the fuel lines.
Gee, Mani. Ben's been out here putting in work while I'm editing a video. This took you like 20 minutes, not even.
Yep.
Heck yeah. Followed the lines out perfect. All this is looking perfect. So we just got to get the front frame horns off, and then we'll graft what's left here. I love how, like, I got some cleanup to do in here, obviously, so I don't, like, you know, lose a finger on this.
Yeah.
And probably I'll probably go in here and maybe cut that pinch weld and weld that seam, you know, so it's still just as strong as the pinch weld. But honestly, just having the factory RX8, you know, frame horns up here will be nice to mount like a bash bar or something too, instead of having, you know, some custom plate with nut certs or something, right? But this makes the whole front of an RX8 look so much more just like appealing to graft onto that, because all these headlight buckets and that is just, it's a lot of extra weight, you know? A lot of stuff going on that we're not going to use any of that structure. I do at least always stock long Sawzall blades for you though, so I always buy the like 8-inch ones.
Yeah, that did work good.
Yeah, versus the short ones. You know, more bang for your buck and you can reach further.
So 4 Sawzall blades later, and Ben flew back to Maine. I got the front of this thing chopped off, and it was more of a headache than you expect. No wonder these RX8s are so strong.
There's so much more metal in there than you think. The frame rail goes inside the frame rail. So Ben already left, but he got a majority of that done, so I just finished that up. He's made it home safe to Maine. It's a couple, you know, 1,500 miles away. Now I'm gonna clean up the frame that I just cut off, get rid of all the stuff I don't want or need, such that I know where and how I need to cut on the FD to fit that on the front of this in the correct spot, so that the wheelbase is right and it looks somewhat normal. What's up, laddie? You gonna put this subframe in here for me? Look at that, guys, so it looks like a complete car.
Mr. Advertisement here, and I have a shameless plug for myself, which you guys have probably heard, but it's not the whole point of this advertisement. Go check out the website for tools to build your rotary engine, t-shirts, Rad Potential merch, and supporting the channel on Patreon if you wish. The main reason for this, though, is a Mr. Advertisement because I need to buy some stuff. I need a rear hatch for an FD. I need doors for an FD. I need a rear bumper cover for an FD. I don't need the super nice, fancy, crazy stuff. Give me the cracked and broken, the rear hatch without a glass or something, doors with no glass. I don't need door panels. I don't need any of that junk. I just need to make this look like an FD from the outside. Comment below, find me on Instagram. I'll put my handle here. It's at Rad Potential. I need some FD bits, but not the good stuff. Like, just give me the bad stuff. So, parts and find me some parts. Thank you. Back to the live action.
So actually, it's not even close to looking like a real car, but we're getting closer to it being a roller. So I've decided to start at the rear of the RX7. So my intention is the back of this was not hit in the accident. The minivan destroyed the front. The rear has been minivan altercation-less. So I want to get the rear lined up perfectly straight with the frame rails on the FD, the rear subframe centered side to side, and then from there I can work forward to center and set up the front subframe such that it is the correct wheelbase for an FD RX7, which is 96.3 inches.
So now that we know the wheelbase of the FD, we've got to get the rear axle set centered within the wheel arch, or I guess close enough that we're okay with the visual appearance of it not being in the center. After some measurements, it's not quite the same as an RX8.
I think I pretty much got this where I want it. I measured not only the wheel arches, but the distance from the rear pinch weld to the back of the subframe, and we're all centered up. Everything is equal on both sides. I still think I'm a smidge. Obviously, the wheel arch here to here. We're just a smidge further back, maybe 1/4 of an inch, but I don't mind the look. So I think that's okay. Obviously, I haven't looked at all at like suspension, compression, droop. I just know that the lower I can get the chassis on the subframe, the better. So that means the higher I can push the subframe up, the better. I can always slam the car down, you know what I mean? Or do some sort of corrective alignment in the rear if we need it, you know, for ride height. I don't think this 5-link, like anything's gonna bind or be weird, but effectively, that is where it needs to be. It is, for the most part, centered left to right. So using the pinch weld up there on that mount and measuring from the outside of the frame rail where that pickup is to both sides, just comparing, we are in the same spot. So now we get to build some mounts so that this can be somewhat, we'll say, tacked in place for now, and then we'll perma-build the mounts once we know exactly where they need to be. So right now it's jacked up and holding against the chassis of the car, so it shouldn't really move that much. I've got a bunch of pressure on this transmission jack. Having this plasma cutter is so rad. No more hand-cut brackets. And just like that, my FD RX7 has a rear subframe now. Check this out. Welded in, little bracket up here to hold the front. I'm gonna weld a nut into this spot, but I haven't done it yet, so it'll be flush up with the top of that. I've got a small gap, no big deal though. Right here, big plate, welded in there, you guys saw. Cut some stuff out on the plasma table, everything was ripping. I'm pretty stoked with how this turned out, honestly. The only thing that sucked about it is that I ran out of welding gas like halfway through welding on the front brackets, and you know, it was late. Didn't really pay much attention, just thought it was like me not having everything cleaned up that well, so I had to kind of go back over and, I'm not gonna say like booger weld my welds, but I had to like re-weld over the more porous, weird looking welds with my MIG gun. So this morning I went and got a fresh tank, so we're good to go. But it is now time to start on the front of the FD, the most controversial fun part, which is chopping off the front of this car. So the fenders are simply bolted on with just one bolt, so we're gonna pop those off real quick. And then we got to cut this and cut that. So first what I want to do is show you kind of how I'm eyeing up measuring this. Just a quick little down and dirty thing. So the wheelbase of the FD is 96.3 inches, you know, front wheel center line to rear wheel center line. So if you think about geometry, right, we've got a triangle that's going to go from the center point to where that wheel is at, or wherever I'm going to measure, and then a distance from here to where that wheel is at, and that's going to lock in where that needs to go, right? So that was my intent, and I think we're going to start with that on this side, okay? And then from once I get this right front, because I'm missing a control arm on the left side, because somebody just took the control arm from this RX8 parts car instead of just buying a whole RX8, because like one part for an RX8 is the same price as a whole car, basically. But we'll start here to get our wheelbase correct, and then I'm going to square up the front subframe with the rear subframe. We're assuming the car is just completely bent. That's the whole goal. It's just bent. We're making the wheels straight. The car is just there for looks, we'll say. Once I get that squared up, I'll kind of know how much of this frame rail I'm going to need. So basically the distance from here back. And then I'm going to cut out a bunch of the junk on this, so it's just a regular rectangle. And that will get me a approximation to how far back I can cut this and still maintain the center line at the right wheelbase. So hopefully I didn't lose you. But right now, more cutting and grinding, which is the best part of this video. Chopping what was a mint 1993 FD-RX7 with 50,000 miles until a minivan destroyed it. We're going to chop it up because we're chopping it up. We're saving it. Not just killing it, we're saving it. So now we're ready to pull the fenders and cut the front of the FD off. And I need to make sure I leave enough meat and measure the RX8 front subframe such that we get the subframe, or I guess the frame, welded in the correct spot, so the axle's in the correct spot, and there's not a huge weird gap with some weird scabs and all that. But first up, we just got to chop this thing off and see how it looks. No wonder these cars get totaled so easy. This cuts like butter. This honestly feels real bad cutting off the front of this car, but considering it would have needed this done anyways, we're putting RX8 stuff on it. It's just gonna make it better. Crashed or not, 16 Sawzall batteries later, We're almost through this frame rail. Oh, shoot. I had a bunch of weight in there. I didn't figure it would flip over. All right, well, it's doing a wheelie now. Time to make it an RX8 because the FDs are weak and not strong enough, as you can see. All right, I did not expect that to happen. I had a bunch of weight in here so that way it wouldn't flip over, but I didn't put my jack back under it after I pulled it back out. So now the FD is doing a wheelie. Oh, that's hilarious. You just can't make that up. Now I feel like the guy that had the Corvette on the lift. I'm talking loud because my earplugs are in, but I feel like the guy that had that Corvette on the lift and like takes the motor off and it flips over, but obviously a lot less risk. Okay, mildly scary, but all right. So this is my FD RX7 now, guys. It is the minimum amount of an FD that you need to own an FD. And we're going to graft an RX8 onto the front of it now, after I put it back down. Lovely. All right, noted. Put an engine or something in there, or move my jack stands further back, or should have just taken the rear subframe out. But hey. Oh, that's hilarious. I thought about that specifically. That's why I put all the stuff on the inside. And I even lifted it. I was like, there's no way that the piece I just cut off is going to be any heavier than those wheels, tires, and the amount of force I was putting into it. So I do think, however, though, that section of FD frame rail, albeit much weaker, is definitely like heavier than all of this RX8 stuff. So, yeah. Let me flip this back over. Gosh dang. Oh, that's hilarious. So funny. Okay, let's see. Let's move this wheel back up here. Maybe I should get some stuff that's more heavy, more dense. Because like I should probably just be able to pull this back down, right? Oh yeah, look at this. It's like, it's pretty much balanced right here, guys, because this is taking maybe 8 to 10 pounds of force. Not that much force. So let's put this down. Stay. Okay, it's still going to flip up. I should have grabbed something heavy while I was out and about. Okay, let's do a wheelie again. Nice and easy. Okay, stay right there. We need something heavy. All right, I come bearing a fake TE37. Watch, one hand. Pull it back down. Nailed it. Mint. I'm gonna go ahead and get this side looking like that side with that super clean cut. So we're gonna, effectively I cut right at the front of this plate right here in case I wanted to flip that up, use it to weld some stuff back on. So we'll do that right here again. And then we'll try to clean this up a bit. And then I can see, you know, I'm gonna have to give myself a gap-ish here. And then we're definitely 100% gonna have to square the front subframe just to the rear subframe and ignore any measurements off the firewall because the car isn't straight, basically. So I've learned my lesson as a automotive YouTuber, and I do not film grinding and welding anymore because I've ruined 3 camera lenses with sparks and assorted other debris that has hit the camera. So you guys are just getting to see this as it's coming to because I got hard into grinding and welding here. So we've got a plate up here, another plate down there. I think the inside pieces are going to be more what I want to make aesthetically pleasing versus these outside pieces are going to be like basically just the structure. I'm not super worried about making this thing lightweight. It's already going to be, well, it's an FD. They're already kind of a tin can anyways. So we've got the front frame rails of the RX8 affixed to the FD. And I have centered it forward, backwards. You can see my strings in here. I got all sorts of crazy stuff going on to make sure that this thing's nice and square, or at least it's as square as I'm going to be able to make it. You know, if I could cross my eyes, I'd do it, or put in a funny meme of some crazy mechanic. But I'm pretty confident that we're for sure plus or minus about 1/8 of an inch And I think I can make up for that little bit of 1/8 of an inch and wiggling the subframe if need be. But also we have the alignment stuff to be able to move things as well. So on an RX8, if you put an adjustable upper control arm, you get a ton of movement out of these. So, you know, basically like my green car was always, you max out the camber, try to get as much caster as you can with that max camber, and then you're stuck there. But with this, we can for sure change it if we do adjustable upper arms. So with that, I'm pretty happy with how this is laying out. I'm gonna go ahead and make up the large structure piece that I want to put right here, just so this is braced in on both sides. And then, yeah, I'm gonna check these measurements once more, put that upper plate in, make sure we're good, and then I should be able to take the jacks out, and hopefully the car doesn't flip off the jack stands the other way, you know, like come towards me, which I think will be impossible. But I'm excited. It definitely looks funky in here, and it doesn't like look perfectly straight because the whole car is bent, like the chassis, the firewall, everything is crooked. So the frame rails are pretty straight, but they could still be crooked. And I guarantee you that this is not going to be perfectly straight. But for the purpose of what I'm going to do with the car, which is like race car, drift car, track car, or something or another, we can probably make up for any imperfections in the chassis, like I said, with the alignment stuff. And ultimately, like, we're not breaking records with this thing. We're just out here to have fun and make a car out of two cars. And that's the whole goal, you know? Like, go get a free FD chassis, buy a $700 RX8, build a car that runs and drives and looks like an FD. You got an FD at that point. Still rotary engine, turbo, 1993 RX7 is what it says on the title. It's an R1. You know, I could paint this thing up. You'd never know till we pop the hood and you see a Renesis in there, you know? So I'm gonna get this plated back up and I'll show you when I'm lowering the jacks out of this thing. And at the end of this video, it is gonna be a roller. That's been my goal. I wanna be able to sit this thing on the ground, minus the rear suspension pickups, but I wanna be able to sit this on the ground and have it look like a car. So let's continue on. Let's see how strong we are. Is it gonna break or will it stay? I think it's gonna stay. Lift with your back in a sharp jerking motion, right? I think we're good. All right, let's unratchet strap this, and I guess we'll just send it. Hopefully it doesn't fall off. Oh. There we go. Okay, now we go down. Well, the whole car went up. That's a win. It didn't fall off. Let's go. So I guess as it turns out, I can build my own chassis from two separate chassis. Look at this. Sweet. All right, so let's take a closer look, guys, because I measured some things and I'm off by just a smidge more than I want to be, but it was a little bit too late to change it, and I'll explain why. So I'd already had this side tacked in, this side tacked in, and I could have cut all the tacks off. It's windy. Okay, door's closed. So, what even is this? Really? Oh. There's an extension cord stuck in the door. We got aluminum tubing rolling all over the place. They just don't want me to explain how crooked my car is. So, the car is perfectly square front to back, meaning my wheelbase is perfect. Okay, here to there, that's perfect. The other side, perfect. The subframes are square to each other. The issue that I have is that I did not get, and it shows because you can see how the frame rail here lines up almost perfect, and it lines up almost perfect there. I don't have it perfectly on the center line of the car. So we're gonna be like, not really crab walking a little bit, but if you look down the one side of the car, like the front wheels are gonna be just a smidge to the right and the rest of the wheels are gonna be perfectly straight. But I don't think you'll really notice. It's only off by about 1/4 of an inch. So, not that big of a deal. I tried to hammer it over like with my tacks on. I really didn't feel like chopping all my tacks off. And honestly, I think it presents better in the engine bay that the frame rails kind of line up, albeit we know that that frame rail is shoved this way, which means that, you know, I'm centered on the crooked frame rails. So I think it is what it is. But we are level, which is nice, like this way to the rear. So that's a win. We don't have to like jack up one shock versus the other. You can see as well that, you know, the ride height, I set the bottom of the subframe level with the bottom of the frame rail, which is, if I look at my green RX8, that's how that's set up. So it's just flats the bottom of the car. It works out that the top of the strut tower actually is reasonably low. So we're gonna hang the fenders back on it here in a second, like set this thing on the ground and see what it looks like, which is gonna be cool. But ideally the fender clears, you know, the front of the RX8 here. So that's kind of the next step. But what I wanna do now is we're gonna go ahead and put the wheels on it, and I wanna sit it on the ground. Hanging a nice 93 spec front bumper on this thing, looking classy. Look at that, it looks like a car now. All right, real test number 2. Does it brake when I jack it up? So far the answer is no. Nice. Tripping over everything. Behold the rad FD RX7. I don't think the bumper is situated exactly perfect, but I think we pretty much nailed it on the fender arch. It's definitely way too tall in the front, and this is where, like the FD body, I guess a couple things we should talk about at the end before I'll, you know, the hybrid Renesis is going in this thing, guys, so y'all couldn't figure that out. Hybrid Renesis, hybrid FD, hybrid RX8, right? So if you look at the RX8, see how tall the fender is right here? You got about 6 or 8 inches of travel up into the fender. And if you look at the FD, the fender is so much shallower. Okay, so even you know, at the right ride height, that whole interaction between the fender arch itself and the top of the strut tower is going to be a little bit wacky for the FD. You know what I mean? Like ultimately, I think, you know, the whole front end of the RX8 subframe needs to be higher in the car than just level with the bottom of the frame rail for the FD. So you can see right there, you know, it's basically completely level here. So there's also not an engine in the front, right? That's going to pull some of the weight down lower than what it's just sitting on right now. And I don't have this other wheel. So like the control arm's gone. So it's just sitting on like a piece of stainless steel exhaust tubing down there. But overall, I am so pumped. This has been like in my head an idea I've wanted to do for a long time. And as a lot of you know, my like whole inspiration, what kind of got me started into rotaries was like Fast and Furious 1 FD, the cutscene with the rotors turning. Really got me interested in the red FD, which then I discovered first gens and rally, and the rest of it is history. So my goal for this is literally to just recreate Fast and Furious 1 FD, use it as like a drift car. I know it's been done before, it's not an original idea, but I do think I'm probably the only one who's put RX8 subframes under an FD, maybe? But regardless, that's my goal. So, single turbo, hybrid Renesis. Get fired up because the next video on this car, we're actually gonna be traveling to a fellow rotary YouTube, Facebook, TikToker guy, drag race engine builder. You'll find out in the next video. And we're gonna build this thing, or I guess, I'm not going to say he's going to build it for me, but I'm going to his shop and we're going to build the engine together. And I'm going to learn some new stuff about building rotary engines with somebody else. So instead of my normal way to do it, we're going to do it his way. And I'm excited for that. So hybrid Renesis, race car spec, Haltech, I'll make the harness, do it all myself. You know, probably barely have headlights and taillights on this thing. It is going to be street legal. Luckily where I live, I can, you know, it'll be street legal. But I'm excited, guys. This thing's going to turn out so rad. And I know there's stuff to dial in, like the ride height and the suspension, and I'm gonna put the RX8 dash in it, so we've gotta, you know, get the interior out. And I'm gonna try to make this build series with this car where each video is like a major milestone and not just crazy progress on the rear suspension for one video, you know what I mean? So like we get the engine built and get the engine set in here, and that's probably gonna be, you know, these major ticks, and I'll fill in all the small stuff as we go. But I am so stoked, guys, for this thing because I've had this chassis for a while. I've known what I've wanted to do with it for a while. And then I got the other RX8. We've had it for a while, and it's finally all literally coming together. We're putting it together. And it's just going to be sweet. Like I said, it's going to be some sort of a drift car. Some sort of something. I don't really know. I don't have a super purpose for it. It doesn't really like
I could go global time attack, crazy, whatever, but at that point I'd have wanted to just start with not a hack job of me making the chassis on semi-not level concrete in my garage. So with that, that's going to be the end of today's video, guys. There's a ton of stuff going on. And as I've said before, I like to try to keep these videos where they're all encompassing, meaning like the title and the thumbnail is what you're going to see. And I don't want to have like 20 minutes of me doing dumb stuff around the shop when the title and the thumbnail is like, hey, look, I bought an FD, or I put new wheels on my car. I don't enjoy watching those videos, so I don't make them. But I'm excited for this thing to be done. So get stoked. This is going to be sick. The dog's excited. I'm excited. And we got a lot going on. So with that, live a life you don't need a vacation from. Thank you guys so much for watching, and keep it rad. And also, don't forget, go check out the Patreon, because there's a lot of cool, crazy stuff happening in the background that the Patreon guys get to see in real time. The videos come out as they come out, right? In addition, on Patreon, if you have questions about whether you want to build one of these, you want to know all my measurements or something, which I wouldn't do this, but if you have questions for me about building engines, about setting up RX8 stuff, doing this, that, and the other, the Patreon is the place to ask those questions. There's a thing called Rad Solutions on there. Any support would be much appreciated. Also, same shameless plug, which I'm sure I already did one in the video, of Mr. Radvertisement. Go check out the website. We got the rotor stands, rotor build trays. We're going to keep adding product to that site as we go, and I'm super pumped with just the reception of all those parts. It's, you know, to me, it just feels better selling you guys stuff you can use versus pushing t-shirts on you and all that sort of stuff. It's just kind of a product, but any support for the channel is much appreciated. So I will see you guys in the next one. Keep it rad. The triple candid ending, but show you this. Dang, looks good. Ignore all of that. Hybrid looks good. Been putting the plasma table to work. Looks good. Need to get the moped running. Got a bunch of steel. We got drift car parts. And then this thing, which we might start making those. Peace, guys.